All right, here we are again. So after many hours of soul searching and trying to figure out what the best solution is, what the destiny of this car is going to be, with new tires, straight body, thousands and thousands of dollars, and countless hours, man hours of working to get this in the shape. It looks like now it's going to need a new head. And so I've decided to take the car to the junkyard and have it crushed. And just get rid of this thing and destroy it all. Just kidding. I bought new heads. They will be here hopefully today. So now I'm going to replace the new heads, or replace the head, the left head, thinking that's the problem. But I also bought the right head. And honestly, I found a pair of heads that looked like they were in great condition on eBay. And I lowballed the guy. And he came back and immediately just said accepted. So $200. I mean, yeah, it's a butt ton of work. Another $150 worth of gaskets. But the old girl, I think she's worth it. But she has to repay me by having this fix the problem. No more issues. Understand me, old girl? So, the next video series here is going to be me replacing the heads. So we're going to walk through that step by step. I printed out the instructions on cylinder head removal. So we're going to go through that step by step and do everything. So obviously the first step is to get rid of all of these things again. So it's going to be removing all of this plus the radiator, and I think everyone knows how to do that, so I'm not worried about that. So again, it's really easy. Pop these 3 pins out, and there's a 4th down in here, a little nut you have to unscrew. But those are all going in the trunk, trunk. That's why the trunk is open. And then everything else, I'm gonna start stacking up on the top of the trunk and on the roof, all the parts. That's why I've got all these towels out so it won't damage the paint. So, without further ado, let's get cracking. All right, been about an hour. Not quite a bit done already. So I'm pulling everything out. I finally got this electrical connector out. Had to take the crankshaft position sensor out with it. I couldn't get it undone. So all of this stuff is all disconnected. I need to do the wiring still in the bank. But just a quick update. Got a lot of it disconnected. Moving on. All right, here's the upper portion of the intake manifold. Just wanted to point out a few things here. So you can see how kind of nasty and a lot of stuff it's got going on here. And like down here you can see all the blackness. Starting to clean it up, just starting, and then look at how much nicer it is. I'm going to clean the intake runners and all that stuff as well. And of course the actual, all these guys need to be cleaned. But just to kind of get a before, like all this up here, before, after kind of thingy. Alrighty, 8 hours later. The head is physically off. It's just I can't get it out. The steering shaft is blocking the exhaust manifold, so I gotta pull off the steering shaft. But that's tomorrow. I'm done. Well, actually not tomorrow, it's like 3 or 4 days from now. But I'm done for today's work. I got a lot done. Very happy, very proud. It's a lot of freaking work. Not finding too many other issues, but it is pretty dirty. The intake the intakes are disgusting. Look at that. These are going in the trash though, because here are the new ones. And I'll be cleaning these up as well. So we'll see. But this is a lot of work for a $1,000 car. But I'm enjoying it. I guess that's all you can say. So I will open these up tomorrow. I'll have a look at it. Maybe if I get some chance tomorrow to work on a little, I will. But otherwise I'm done for a while until I get some more free time. I'm booked solid for days. All right, see you soon. All right, another update. It's been about 2 more hours. Significant progress. Got the intake manifold out. That was bare. But it is out. And then I split it in half. And here's the upper part with the actual butterfly valves that open and close during high or low RPM. That's very nice and smooth. The lower half, but look at this. Look at all the oil that's in these cavities. I don't think that's supposed to be right. So, regardless, I will clean this all up and make it look nice and pretty so that no one will ever see it again. And put it all back together once I get the heads installed, which probably gonna be quite a while from now. Even if I get the heads in the next 5 minutes, it's gonna take weeks to put this back together again. Alrighty, next update coming in soon. Alright, I decided to take a quick peek at my heads that I just got. And of course, you know, it's just, nobody cares anymore. It was a subpar pack job. And then of course, on top of that, the FedEx didn't care and smashed it around. And if those of you that know what's going on will see all the caps are gone. Of course, this went upside down and all the caps fell out, which is not a big deal. What is a big deal is all of the shims came out. So now this was shims for the previous camshaft. So it's gonna need to be reshimmed anyways. But I don't know if you can see it. Way down there in that little corner, a little shiny thing. I only have 2 hands here. It's kind of pointing at it. Anyways, one of the shims is way the hell down there. Now, I'm gonna try to get it out with little pick tools like this and magnets and whatnot. But otherwise, now I gotta compress that spring and pull it all out. And I don't have a valve spring compressor tool. So I'll have to go to Harbor Freight or something and buy one just to get that one out. I mean, I can replace the shim, that's not a problem. But I can't leave that inside there. That's gonna tear up the valve in the first 10 seconds that this car started up. And then on top of that, not that I was expecting anything different, but of course the intakes are they're not as bad as mine, but they'll need to be cleaned. And counting that one shim and all of these, I'm still missing one. So where is that one last shim? I really need to find it because you know how engines work. If you don't find it now, you will find it later. So, yay to me. I get to play treasure hunt here and try to find that last shim. Now what I'm hoping is when I put my camshaft in here, that the shims from the previous head and combined with the shims from this head, that maybe I can put the two together and shim this properly. So we will we'll see when that time comes. But I'm not going to shim this until the head is physically in. I mean, I've never tried it. I mean, I guess I could actually just bolt the camshafts in right here, right now, and then shim it. I'll have to think about that. But yeah, because it's going to give me a lot more room to do it right here. I'll have to think about that. But the main purpose of this section of the video was just to show that I got to beat these spark plug tubes back into position, and everything was poorly packed for not only that damage, but also for the caps and the shims to be flying everywhere. I mean, if you don't want to pack it, fine. Take the caps and the shims out, put them in a bag, then ship it. Frustrating to say the least. All right, before I continue on, I wanted to point out a certain few things for my reference, and also for anybody else that decides to do this to help them out. Number one, taking this out is a nightmare. 99% of taking all of that out is fairly easy. There's not many tricks that you need to know or something that's really difficult. But on top, you have the heater hose stuff. This supposedly is notorious for breaking, and you got all the associated heater hoses. If you need those heater hoses replaced, this is the time to do it. It's super easy to get to. I'm probably not going to do it because obviously these are at certain angles and they are extremely expensive. There's 5 hoses and they're probably close to $200 for the factory Lexus ones. So that's the first one. The second one I want to get a closer view, so hold on. All right, next is the cylinders. The red fluid, obviously I need to get rid of that. And you can see the pistons are, I get the shadow. They're not that bad. They're a little dirty, but I'll clean them all up. But otherwise, not that bad. Something that I think is interesting and positive. I was working on this last night, and I got frustrated. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to hurt anything, so I'm going to stop. I still can't get this head out, but I'm going to stop. But I had spilled the antifreeze in the pistons. So now my job now, before anything else happens, is to clean that all up. But that fluid has been sitting there for probably a good 12 hours. Now, to me, that means the rings are sealed. So I think that the block is good. So that's the second thing. The third thing, the reason I can't get it out is, if you look at my previous video, it's really hard to see. So this black pipe right here, tube, that's the steering shaft that I just replaced a couple weeks ago. Nowhere does it say to remove that to get this out. But the exhaust manifold here is has to come out with the head. And the flange for that, it hits that. So you have the flange on this side hitting that pipe, that steering shaft, and you have the EGR valve, the O2 sensor on this side hitting the block. So you can't get it out. So the best way for me to do this, I guess, is just to simply take the steering shaft back out again to pull it out. Now, the nightmare. There is a bracket. It is all the way back there. There's no way you can see it. It's all the way on the back side of the head. And you can only access it from underneath the car. And from what I understand, this head's got it too back there. I think this one is the bracket. I haven't done the right side yet, but the left side was an absolute nightmare. You have the O2 sensor plug you have to remove. You have a bracket you have to remove. You have the wires you have to flip over to the other side. It's not fun. 100% not fun. furthermore, you know, I got 2 pans and 2 buckets to catch all of the crap. And of course, the majority of it's mist. So now it's all over the garage floor. So now I have to lay in that wet antifreeze on my back to try to get that undone. So that was not fun. So do that first, folks. Do that first before you drain the fluid out. Now my mistake also was that I did not drain the block. I should have drained the block. That's my bad. So drain the block first. It takes a little extra, but it's so much less mess. And since we're right here, this is a great shot of the damage. You can see all of the damage on the face and the damage inside here. This is the sole reason why we're doing all this, just because this is damaged here. This doesn't really matter to me, but this is out of whack. So 0.99 maximum, 0.099 maximum. This is 0.176 at least. So twice, probably more like 0.2. So 0.01 is the maximum, and I've got, or 0.1 millimeters is the maximum, and we're at 0.2. So that's why we're changing it, because it's blowing the fluid out. Alrighty, continuing the work. Well, look at this, we got progress. We are down to the short block, the dirty version of the short block. I have not done anything yet to this, so this is going to be next to clean all of this up, from the piston tops to the head itself, to the deck, cleaning out all the valley here. Looks like I'll have to do this, take this blue, whatever this blue thing is, off for the water pump. I don't know if that's a former gasket or an actual gasket, we'll find out. But just start prepping this part for reinstallation. And then we got the old heads out here. So I'm in the process of pulling the exhaust manifold off. The other old head, I got the exhaust manifold off already. But what I'm planning on doing now is I've got to clean the decks of the heads of this, the other side, and of course the top side as well of these guys. They're here on the back of the car. So the top of the heads need to be cleaned. The bottom of the heads need to be cleaned. And I need to find the shims, and I need to lap the valves. Lots and lots of work to go still. Yay. Getting there. Alrighty, look at this. Down to the bare block. So I've got everything out. I've got most of the stuff taken off of the exhaust manifolds and all that stuff. And then I came here and I have cleaned up the mating surfaces of the exhaust manifolds. And so these are all nice and clean. Also, I cleaned up the studs here and the mating surface here as well. I took the oxygen sensors out, cleaned them all up, put never sees on there, and then put them back in. So I should say when I have a O2 sensor fail, it should be easier to get out. So these are pretty shiny. So I've done those, and then I just started looking at the heads. I started working on one of them, and this is the way it looked before, and then here is what I've done so far. So I am planning on pulling the valves out, cleaning up the valves individually, cleaning up the combustion chamber individually. But I'm waiting for some more tools to show up to do that. So that should be next week that I'll be pulling all this stuff off. And I'll be cleaning up the head as well. Obviously I gotta get the deck of the, cleaning up the block as well I get the deck of the block cleaned. And I'll also spend some time cleaning up each and every piston individually. So that's still yet to come. Lots and lots of work to go still. But I do see progress now. So I'm officially, as far as I'm concerned, in the put back together phase instead of the take apart phase. While each piece individually needs a lot of attention, like the deck of the heads, like the valve seals, like the shimming the actual buckets of the valves with the shims. All that stuff still needs to come, but it's getting there. All right, so we got the head a little bit more done today. Got the whole deck cleaned. Kind of hard to see, but the intake manifold surface is clean. The exhaust manifold surface is clean. I cleaned all the threads up here and ran some nuts across them to make sure they're all nice and free and clean. I've kind of touched this cylinder here a little bit, cleaning up a little bit, but it's looking pretty rough, especially inside the intake ports where those has some pretty good carbon buildup. I've chipped a little bit of it out already, as you can see, but I spent some more time on this one, and look at how much cleaner that is. So these guys are coming out clean. My next step is to obviously clean all these guys up, but then also clean up the valves and then lap the valves. I also have to replace the valve stem seals. And then getting closer to being able to put this head back in. Now, of course, this is a V8, so this is only the one side. I still got to do the whole other side. So, a lot of work, but I'm actually kind of halfway impressed with that. And I have not been touching the valve contact surface. If there's any kind of junk or any kind of carbon buildup or whatever, I just chip it off with my pick here. But otherwise, I'm leaving it alone, and I'll let the lapping procedure take care of that. So yeah, look at this. Ugh. And look at all the stuff that's coming out of here. So I haven't done much more. I've been busy for the last week, but I have done some. And a whole bunch more to go. Here is the all the springs and the upper caps. And of course I still have the block to clean. So lots of good stuff. Alrighty, more work done on the heads. Again, this is the first head. Lots of work to do. This is actually the left head. So what I have done, obviously I've taken all of the valve springs out and all of the valves out, and those are yet to be cleaned. And I just polished the heads, the intakes, so I can get a good shot in there. See how pretty and clean it is in there? So I got all the crap out of there. Let's see here, I can give you an example of the old head. Yeah. So that's what the old heads look like, complete with debris in there. So that's what the old heads look like, all carboned up and whatnot. And then the new head, the new replacement heads, with all the pretty clean and whatnot. So I still have to do the exhaust coming out as well, but now it's all dirty from blowing the crap out, but all of this is all clean. So the next step will be to do the exhaust, then the valve stem seals, and then lap the valves, and then clean up this head. And I think it's this one will be done. And then rinse and repeat on the whole second one. So that's the update so far on this head. All right, getting more done. Now I'm into the lapping of the valves. So I have cleaned all the valves, put them through a grinder, and got all the carbon off of it. So it's they're pretty clean. Not really too worried about them. And so now I'm going to lap the valves. So there's some fine grade and some coarse grade. I think I only need fine grade lapping compound. So all you do is you put it in, and then you twist and listen. You can hear the rubbing, and then you just keep going, tap tap tap, and see how it's going away. The noise is going away. So that means that the metal to metal is very smooth, and it's touching metal everywhere. And so I'm just redistributing the compound when I'm tapping. You can hear it? And then when you keep doing it, it goes away because it's getting it nice and smooth. And now you can hardly hear anything. And you can lose your suction cup too. So anyways, that's lapping the valves. I got 6 down and 36 to go, or 26 to go. More progress. I've got her coming back together again. I'm just about ready to measure the clearance from the cam lobe to the buckets once this is all torqued down. So I'm gonna do that now. It was interesting that when I was putting the retaining clips in for the springs for the valves, I was missing 3 retaining clips. I don't know what happened. But for those of you guys out there, Lyle 36050. This tool kit worked fantastic for me. There's a bigger one and the smaller one, which is the one I was using, works fantastic. So what you do is you actually take this off, and this is magnetized in here. You push this on the spring, and you push down, either push it or hit it with a hammer, and it'll pop the retaining clips out and stick inside here as a magnet. And then when you go to put it back in, put it back together, you put this, wow, not too talented one-handed here. You put it in like this, then you push down on here, and you push down until it actually clips in. And I recommend pushing as far as you possibly can. You can feel it kind of starting to do something. Don't stop there. Push all the rest of the way down to make sure both retaining clips go into position. So, but yep, I got all the retaining clips in. I lapped all the valves. I put in new valve stem seals. Now it's just a matter of adjusting the thing there. I have no idea, but it was weird that I took a random sampling of 6 or 7 different shims that were in this motor, and they're all the exact same thing with 2.1 millimeters. So I just randomly put them all back in again. I didn't feel like measuring every single one, but I might have to tear it all apart and do it again. But whatever. So I'm curious to see what just the intake manifold is gonna, intake cam lobe numbers are gonna produce. All right, stand by, more to come. All right, another day of work on the car. So today is going to be cleaning up the heads. So again, this is going to be the before, and clean up the values as well, and then the on that side as well. You can already see I made a clean spot. Whatever shall I do? This is all done. I measured out the lash for the valves, and it's pretty darn close, but I'm not happy with it. I'm going to go ahead and take out all the shims, remeasure the shims, and make sure that's all right as well. So that's one thing. The other thing is that the the camshaft, the intake camshaft, when I put it in here to measure the lash, it was binding over here. It was binding in here, which this is really good condition, and that part of the camshaft is brand new. I'm going to hope that because they're both in good condition, that it's just binding a little bit because it's extra tight tolerance and there's not much oil. Now I did add oil in there, and you can see how I added the oil everywhere. There's a little bit of oil on all that stuff. But so I'm gonna go back on that. But I consider this basically head to be done with that exception as far as redoing the head. Now everything else needs to go bolt back together, and I need to put it back in. My other question is, see if I can zoom in here. This is just one example. This has got scratches, and I would really like to polish those out. But do I? You can't catch a finger on any of it. But nonetheless, just to polish it out. So maybe put some 2000 grit sandpaper, 3000 grit, then come back with some like mag wheel paste to polish it really good. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that. My biggest thing is how do I either hold the camshaft in place with something like the vise here, or put it somewhere so I can rotate it with a drill or something while polishing it. So that's something I got to figure out. That's why I'm gonna focus my energies on this right now as I contemplate what options I have to do that. So that's my update for starting for today. This is just starting, so who knows how much, if any, I'll get done today. Check back with you later. Alrighty, 4 hours later. They are all clean. Or probably the more appropriate word is they are clean enough for me. Obviously you can see there's some little bits, but I don't care. So with that being cleaned and this head being almost ready to go back in, and I'm just starting on this head here. I got everything taken apart. Got all the valves out. All the springs and retainers out. I still have to replace the guides and clean up all this. Why they pack it in grease? I don't know. But clean all that out. I got the deck clean. You can't see underneath, but I got the underneath. I got the deck lid, the deck bottom cleaned. I'm in the process of cleaning out this top for the valve cover. So I've got the intake manifolds to do, of course the exhaust manifolds to do on the other side, and also I have to lap the valves, and then of course, or actually first clean the valves, then lap the valves. They got all this grease all over the valves. So why? I don't understand why they do that, but okay, whatever. So it is coming together. Like I said, I'm still going to take this back apart and check the each one of the shims just to make double sure. I'm not happy with that yet, so I need to go back and check that. But it is getting closer to the start putting things back together stage, and that actually kind of looks really, really good. That was a lot of work. That was a lot of hard work. I used my Dremel, and as an example, this is the after. That's the after. You want to see the before? This is the before. This kind and this kind, I used both of them. And I probably went through, I don't know, 10 of these. But first, I started with my drill. This is a softer bristle, kind of like removing paint only. So I did that, and then I used my pick tool to kind of break up some of the stuff. Then this Dremel tool. I use lots of chemicals. I got a whole different assortment of chemicals that'll spring all over the place trying to get stuff to break up. And whether it worked or not, I don't care. It's all done now. So I can keep moving forward. But first, coffee break. All right, finishing up working on the number 2, the right head. I've got all of the intake and exhaust ports cleaned, the intake and exhaust mating surfaces cleaned, the bolts cleaned, all that stuff, the head cleaned, and I've cleaned all of the valves. I'm going to do things a little bit differently this time, and I'm going to go back to the left head and do this exact same way. So first things first, okay, so also the valve stem seals have been replaced. They've been replaced on this as well, so that's good. But I'm going to lap these valves, and then I'm going to take the camshaft and I'm going to remove the VVT portion of it, and I'm going to put just the camshaft in. So like this one here. So I'm going to put the camshaft in, but I'm going to take all of the valves out except the valve that I'm going to measure for the valve lash. So I'll put the one valve in, put the camshaft in with no resistance on anything else, measure just that. Then once I've got that dialed in, I'll take that back out, the cap, the bucket. I'll take the bucket back out and I'll measure this one, take the bucket back out, and I'll go and do each and every one individually to make absolutely certain I have the proper valve lash. Now what I did was I took the shims out of the new head and measured them. Now this is the range I've got between the 3. I also have the old shims. Now here's the thing. As an example, you can see this one's much cleaner than this one. It's got a lot of buildup on there. That's going to change the thickness of this. So I don't want to use the old shims unless I have to. And if I have to use the old shims, then I'm going to clean them before measuring them and making sure that they are proper, because the carbon buildup adds thickness to it. And when we're measuring 0.2 millimeters, 0.3 millimeters, 0.4, 0.1 millimeter between each one of these, it makes a difference. Just this little bit of carbon buildup. So once I've done each and every single one individually, then I'll come back and I'll put it all back together again. And then I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to do the same thing for this one. I just want to make absolutely certain that these are exactly right. I don't want this thing to start up and start ticking, or worse yet, be too tight, then have valve float, which is as the engine heats up, the cam lobes heat up, the buckets heat up, they expand, and now you actually have negative clearance. So even at the fully quote-unquote closed position, the cam is actually pushing on the bucket and partially opening the valve. Either intake or exhaust, that's going to ruin the compression. So I don't want to do that either. That's even worst case scenario. So that's why I want to make absolutely certain I have this right, because to redo this, you have to take out the timing belt again. Now, I've done it 10 times, so I'm pretty much an expert on how to take the timing belt out of this car. But I don't want to do it an 11th time. So I'm going to make sure I get it right the first time. Hey, what a novel idea. And get it all done properly so that there's no issues. See, I can turn these pretty easily already without, I haven't even lapped them yet. So hopefully this engine will provide a whole bunch more mileage once I get it back. whole bunch more trouble-free mileage once I get it back together. Alrighty, I've got the right cylinder head all done. Well, actually, I got both done, but the right one is ready to go back in. I've got the power steering pump bracket back on. I've got the exhaust manifold back on. The head is all cleaned. Intake and exhaust manifolds are clean. All the valves have been lapped. New valve stem guides. I adjusted all the valves. I did it the same way I did it before, because if I did it one at a time, that's not how the engine works. The engine works with all of the valves at the same time. So I wanted to leave it at the same time. And now the head's all clean. And here we go. And the new head gasket is installed. This is an MLS multi-layered steel. So the MLS multi-layered steel head gasket is in. Left one's getting ready to go in as well. But first I'm going to take the head of the right side and install it. Put it, just set it in there. I'm not going to bolt it up yet. I'm going to set both of them in there, and then I'm going to take my time doing the bolting, the actual putting the head bolts in and torquing them properly. So right now I'm going to take that big thing and put that right there. Then I'm going to prep this head and do the same and put it in the hole. Then I'm going to torque it. This is major progress here. All right, getting ready to put the heads on. But first I wanted to blow out all the lines. Yes, I am physically straddling the engine with the head here and my foot on the sway bar. I want to blow out all of the holes for the bolts. Make sure, see that? I want to make sure all these are clean before putting the bolts in there. As well, I want to run the bolts up and down, make sure it's all in there without any kind of grit or anything. And I believe it's this hole here. I'd have to double check, but whatever hole it is, I want to check to see if I can get my borescope down in there to see if there's any oil blockage. So before I put the head on, I want to clean all this up and make sure it's done right. I don't want to do this again. So that's what I'm going to do next. All right, that goes to that plug. This plug here goes to that plug there. Inside that little heat shield. It all has to pass between this two right here, right through there. So I have to disconnect the O2 sensor, pass it through there, then screw the O2 sensor back in again. Luckily, I took the O2 sensor off and cleaned it up and put never sees on there before installing. But that's not the nightmare. The nightmare is on this side. Here's the O2 sensor here. Right here. And the pigtail, the black wire that has the connector on it is right here. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's right there. The connector is still inside the block. It's stuck in between the head and the block. I put the head on with that stuck in there without knowing it. Torqued it all down and put the cams in and everything. All that work has to be undone. Lift up the freaking head just to pull that stupid freaking connector out. You know, you get tired, you get excited, you get frustrated. And sometimes it's better to walk away, because if I'd have known that I was making stupid mistakes, I would have stopped. But, oh well. I guess I'll have to get back in there and take care of that. Alright, here's the damage. That'll obviously clean up. This is toast. I'll have to get a new O2 sensor. But that's all screwed up. The gasket for the head is missing the paint, but the groove is still there. So I'm not going to pay $200 more for a whole new set just for this. The dimple is still here. This is not messed up. The groove is still here. This is still has its integrity as far as I'm concerned. It feels fine. It doesn't, I don't know. It's hard to focus on this, but it's right here. The thickness looks fine. I don't know, I'll see how much a new gasket is. But anyways, that's the damage. All right, now we got a whole bunch of good news and a whole bunch of bad news. First, the good news. Everything's coming together. The heads are in. The cams are all in and torqued and properly set up. Everything's in nice and pretty. Of course, the cabling is everywhere, so whatever. The bad news. The kit that I ordered to, when you replace the heads, which obviously you got to take the heads off individually, there's a crossbar here and in back. That's what these guys have. This crossbar here. Okay. Those crossbars require gaskets. 4 of them. The gaskets were not supplied. But hey, they did give me a rear main crank seal, because you know everyone automatically changes their rear main crank seal when they're pulling ahead, but they don't do the water passover that's mandatory to take this off to get the heads off. Sometimes I wonder about these people. So frustrating that that happened, but the fun does not stop there. Let's go underneath and I'll show you even more fun that has just completely ruined my day. All right. Here is the here's the exhaust O2 sensor at the connector. Okay. That. All right, it's been a few days, and I'd start off this one with a different view of the car, the trunk of the car, showing you how much I still have to do. All that needs to go back in. But I don't even care about that, because it has gone from the insane and ludicrous to the absolute just want to cry. So we're still here. Still haven't put the head on yet, waiting for the new head gasket. Yes, I decided to buy a new head gasket just to make sure. That should be arriving later on today. So in the meantime, I decided to start buttoning up this side. And by this side, I mean all the stuff that's underneath. And by all the stuff that I mean underneath is the dipstick and the transmission fill lines. So, first, there's a bracket that's all the way in the back, unrelated to the dipstick and transmission fluid. It has the the O2 sensor. It's a shield for the O2 sensor to keep it away from the heat, the exhaust pipe. On this one here, this thing here, there's a secondary shield here that bolts on one side. It bolts to this, on the other side it bolts to the block, and in between the wire runs down there. I showed you that on an earlier video. That took me 6 hours, 6 hours to put those 2 bolts in. But wait, there's more. Act now and you get a free extra 2 days of labor putting in the dipstick, and mainly the dipstick. That took me 2 full days, 8 hours of working to get that dipstick in properly. It was an absolute nightmare. This was in the way. If that's not in the way, then this is in the way. If that's not in the way, then that's in the way. If that's not in the way, then everything else is in the way. It was brutal. Absolutely. The worst I've ever had. It is just horrible. And then, of course, it's held in with 1 bolt down underneath there. It's not bolted in this way. It's not bolted in this way, but it's bolted in this way. So up underneath. So 135-degree angle kind of thing, working from upside down, backwards, sideways, and blind. Once I got that in, this transmission wasn't that bad. The back bolt was kind of a pain. And then this bolt that connects the transmission to the oil dipsticks was a little off. I had to tweak some metal to get that line back up again, but absolutely nightmare. Part of putting this in, it required me to take out the catalytic converter, the steering shaft, and the motor mount. Had to take them all out to get clearance. That's how bad it is. It just will not go in. If you're some kind of yoga contortionist, you can do all that with this stick. Great, more power to you, but otherwise it was a nightmare. All right, fine. So the catalytic converter's out, and I haven't even touched putting that back in yet. The entire steering shaft is out. I haven't even touched putting that back in yet. Why? Because I've been spending all my time putting the motor mount back in. Now, this is where it gets really ludicrous. The motor mount, I'll look on this side. So that's the motor mount. It's held in by 1 bolt that goes through, and then the nut comes up from underneath. And it's got 4 bolts on the side of the block here. Okay? Not the one next to the R, but the one that's bolted down the bottom. That one there, bolted to the bottom there, the bolt will not go back in. It took me a while to pull it out. It fought me the entire way out. Was it stripped? I don't know. But it fought me the entire way out. Now it physically will not go back in. I have done everything possible, including using my tap and die set to try to get it back in. I can't get it back in. I just cannot. It will not start. So basically I gave up on that, and I said, you know what, I'll come back to that later. And I had to take the nut out from the bottom of this motor mount and this motor mount over here to raise the engine, to disconnect the motor mount to get it out of the way to get the dipstick in on the other side. Well, now the shaft that's built into this brand new motor mount, albeit aftermarket, but new, the shaft not on this side but on both sides are stripped. They're stripped. The nut goes all the way in, an all lip, and I'm using a 3/8 inch normal ratchet with a 12-inch handle. It's not like I got power to spare to strip these guys out. No, they're stripped. They're stripped. So now I have to buy new motor mounts, new motor mounts. These guys are 2,000 miles on them. And yes, they're aftermarket. And yes, I'm going to buy aftermarket again. But what I'm going to do now is just leave it and get this engine back together again. And if it runs like absolute dog doo, I'm just going to dump the car, just get rid of it. But if it comes together, then I will spend the extra, I think it's $78 to do that. So, long story long, it is a brutal nightmare. I have opened a can of worms that just will not go away, just to put this little freaking stupid dipstick in. And I haven't even done the steering yet. I haven't even done the catalytic converter yet. All that is still to go. As a matter of fact, the steering I think is next, is right now. As soon as I turn this off, I'm going to put steering back in because I think that's where I'm at next. But it just, I swear this car is cursed. It is literally cursed. I have done nothing but pump my time, heart, and soul into this car. And it's way beyond, I mean, I could have bought a really super nice example, low mileage example of this car for probably half the amount of money I got into this thing. And this is just a standard one with 200,000 miles on it. It is so maddening. Oh, I'll go buy one more gasket for $5. Oh, wait, no, I need 4 gaskets for $60. Oh, wait, no, I need a new head gasket because the little stupid cable for the O2 sensor went into the thing. Oh, I need a new O2 sensor. Oh, I need this. Oh, I need that. Oh, my God. I mean, if there's ever been a true definition of nickel and diming you to death, it's this. And, you know, on top of that, I've got a job, a family, a dog that needs attention 2 to 3 times a day, other projects that I'm working on, other cars that I need to be working on. This is sucking the life out of me. But I refuse to give up because what am I going to do? I mean, I could tow it out in the middle of the street and say, free, come get it. Or just keep going. So that's what I'm going to do, but I'm not replacing these motor mounts until I know this engine is back up and running again. So, nice ugly update. Hopefully next update will be some sort of possible better news. All right, upper and lower intake manifolds are done. With the exception of some stuff here, I'll give it a quick shot of brake cleaner before I put it back together again. But intake runners are all clean. The seats for the injectors are all clean. The valves all clean. Everything's clean. So now I can take the gasket and finally install that. And I'm gonna have to figure out which end is up and which end is down. And it doesn't say, well, it says L. So let's see, this is the front. Yeah, so this is the front and this must be the L side. So it must go like this. So you see L. This is the front. The intake throttle body goes here. So technically the front of the car is like this, and so this is the left-hand side. So I'll buy that. But then I can put these two together, bolt them together, and then put it in the car. And getting closer by the minute. By the way, I did find those extra bolts and nuts that I was looking for. It was in one of these bags from, it got mixed up with the hardware from the previous, from the new head. The new heads that I got came with parts, and so somehow those got mixed in with them. So charge on. All right, that's one clean looking lower head. This is the bottom. This is the mating surface that actually attaches to the block. And look at all this, ugh, all that came out of these these runners. And then this is the top. They have the dual runners. It's not 100%, but it's definitely to my liking. I'll clean this up a little bit after this video here. But otherwise, she is ready to go back in. And then I can start working on that one. Alrighty, starting to look like an engine. Getting everything together. Got even the belt on. The timing belt's done. The accessory belt's done. Everything's done up front. So now it's time for the intake manifold. I've got the forward water connector for the 2-cylinder heads and the aft one. And also this, which is the housing for the thermostat. So I got a big bolt here, a small bolt there, and let's see here, Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 bolts there, a bolt here, and a longer bolt here. Sorry, 8 nuts and 2 bolts. Can't find them. I cannot find them. I mean, I'm almost done putting this car back together. I've accounted for everything, and I cannot find them. I have no idea where they're at. So, good stuff. It just keeps coming. So, in the meantime, I'm working on the intake manifold. So this is the lower part, and I'm cleaning it all out. So you can see a little bit cleaner here than over here. I'm running my wire brush through all the ports of the lower intake. Then the upper part of the intake, I'll take and clean those ports as well. And then as you can see, I started cleaning one portion of the butterfly valve, so I will continue and clean all that. And keep it going, and then put it all back together again. And so what I'm hoping is, as I'm doing this, as I'm putting it all together, and slowly using up more and more of the parts, that somehow magically, those missing bolts and nuts reappear. But as of right now, I don't have them, and I don't know where they're at. These are the lower, the intake, this intake to the block. These are the bolts. I've accounted for these. These all are accounted for. I've got the nuts for the injectors. This is for the fuel rail that goes around the back. These 3 nuts are for this guy, once I get ready to put that back on, and so on and so forth. But I cannot for the life of me find those nuts and bolts. I'll let the hunt begin. Alrighty, 99% done. Got a few small things to do. I have the air box, I have the radiator, intake manifold. I have not yet put in the spark plugs. I'm going to run the engine. I'm going to spin the engine quite a few times to get the oil pumping through everything before I light this thing off. So I'll spin this for a few minutes, get all the air, the oil pumped through it and everything before I pull the trigger and put all the spark plugs in and all the coils and everything in there. Once again, another little setback. The water temperature sensor is kaput. So I'm gonna have to make a run to the AutoZone or whatever tomorrow to do that, to put that in. And then I actually bought the gasket for here for the water thermostat, and it was the wrong one. And according to the manual, you're supposed to just use sealant anyway, so I just used gasket maker. So tomorrow is radiator intake. I'm going to fill it up with water and just run it with water for then flush it all out, as well as the oil. The oil I'm going to run for just maybe 20 minutes of running the oil. I bought some the cheapest oil I could find on Amazon. So I'm just going to run cheap oil through it for 10-15 minutes, then hopefully flush out any contaminants. Hopefully the filter will get most of it, but otherwise, hopefully it works. Hopefully it solves the problem. Hopefully I didn't forget to plug in anything or do this or do that, or put this upside down, put that backwards, torque it, not torque it, I don't know. 1,000 different possibilities of what I did or did not do. And I can already see oil just dripping out of the bottom of the thing. So here we go again. Let's see what that is. Oh my God. Well, maybe I'm not starting it tomorrow. To me, that looks like a valve cover gasket that's not sealed. Dude, I cannot win. I just cannot win. You just saw that in real time. I'll check back again. All right, next update. The engine is completely put back together again. Everything is in place except for the covers. I have everything in. Everything. The only thing I'm missing is the covers and the intake snorkel. And water for the radiator. So I pour the water on the radiator and it comes right out. It's coming from back here. Somewhere back here, there's a back crossover pipe. And I think it's going to require me to take the entire intake manifold off again. Maybe I can get away with just the upper portion of that intake manifold. But in order for me to even get back there, I have to take it all apart. Now, something of note, I bought what I thought was 4 water bypass gaskets, like that, and one, you can't see it, it's way down in there, the water intake gasket. I could have sworn I bought the proper ones. I like triple checked, and then when I went to put everything in, I had one of these left. Maybe somehow I screwed it up and I put that water bypass one back there. I don't know, but it's pouring out like it's not even tight. So maybe it's correct and I screwed up on the gasket buying the gaskets and I never bolted it down, or I screwed up the gaskets and put the wrong gaskets in. I don't know, but in either case, obviously it needs to be dealt with. So get all back apart again. Fun. All right, got the intake manifold back off again. It wasn't actually too bad, but what a pain still. And you see what I see? I was right. I used the wrong gasket. Not paying attention. Used the wrong gasket. Bad news is I used the wrong gasket because I wasn't paying attention. Good news is that's all it is, hopefully. And then we can go from there. All right, let's put it all back together again. Alrighty, here we go again. Everything is back together again. The leak has been resolved. What it was this gasket here. Get it out. It's supposed to go like that, and I had it like that. So this piece was sticking out, and it should have been over here. So, lesson learned, whatever. I do recommend that if anyone is doing this, before putting the intake manifold back on, hook up your hoses over here and your hoses here, the little small ones, and fill it with water, or if you want to chance it with antifreeze, fill it. And that way, if there's a leak back there, either because he did the wrong gasket or because one of those hoses broke or anything, you'll see the leak immediately instead of having to pull all this off and try to figure it out. So a little tip. But with that being said, everything is back together again. This is the momentous occasion. This is after the heads were replaced. All the work I did with both heads, cleaning out the heads, lapping the valves, new valve stem seals, the works, everything. It all culminates to this. Now I'm going to immediately get a check engine light because of my water temperature sensor, coolant temperature sensor broke. And I ordered a new one, and of course it's not the right one, so now I gotta order another one. You know how Amazon is. Oh, it definitely fits, and it gets here and it's like, nope, don't fit. And literally the plug is the problem. The sensor goes in, no problem, but the plug won't fit onto the wiring harness plug, so that's not gonna help. So apart from that, so expect a check engine light. But apart from that, we should be able to fire this up right now for the first time and see if all of this work has paid off. So I expect the entire car to freak out because of all the learning and everything. But here we go. So now the fan is on. I expect that because there's no temperature of the car, so it just defaults to fan on. Here we go. Huh? This is not good. Wow. Okay, not good. Really? This is interesting. Wow. Something ain't right. It is running, but something definitely ain't right. It sounds like I got not firing on all 8 cylinders. All right, let me check this out. Be right back. All right, I'm not getting too excited, but it's up to normal operating temperature and no check engine light. Everything seems to be running good. Let me turn the air conditioning on and see what happens with that. So the idle jumped up a little bit and the compressor kicked on and I heard the fans come on. So that's good. I'm running my little scan tool thingy here. It's hard to see, but no data. So now I'm going to go and run a complete full scan. And see what that brings up. But as of right now, oh, it's so cold air. That's awesome. So just to make sure, it's just the, yep, it was just the passenger door. I'm going to try to give it a little bit of gas here. Oh, that's smooth. I do hear a little bit of ticking, but I think that is actually the injectors. I hope it's the injectors. Once I get this thing scanned, I will take a look and see if that's doing. That's not gonna work. Yep, that's working. All right, so let's see what my check engine light here says. Okay, so first things first, nothing there. The air conditioning, that is standard because the solar sensor circuit, this is actually a good time to talk about this. The solar sensor circuits are these guys here, those little things there. And how it works is they sense the light. If there's no light, it actually shorts out the circuit and saying, okay, there's no light, so I can't complete the circuit. Therefore, it's at night, so the lights go bright. But it also registers as a failure. But it's supposed to be a failure. So if you see this solar sensor circuit, driver's side, and I should have one on the passenger side, both those solar sensor circuits, when it's not in the sun, are supposed to fail. So if I were to take this outside and put it in the sun, those would go away. But that's supposed to be like that. That actually means it is working properly because there is no sun. There's actually cardboard boxes. So that's a good sign. And of course, yeah, we got to have the check engine light for normal. Silly. All right, so then scanning on down. Immobilizer, what's that? Communication malfunction 1 in history, and no communication in immobilizer system, but that's history. So that might clear out once I clear the codes. No, sorry, I can't see all this. So no codes. So I'm gonna go back up to the engine. Engine and ECT. No codes. No P1349 yet. Okay, so I'm happy for now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn off the car and I'm going to change the oil and the oil filter because of all the crap that I had put in there. So I just want to get rid of all that. So that is my thing I'm going to do now. And then after that, I'm going to pull it out of the garage and go take it for a test drive. So stand by. Okay, sorry about that. Had a little vacuum leak I had to take care of. But she is up and running. Stinking so bad because of all the crap burning off. But it is up and running. Nothing leaking so far. I'm gonna let it run for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, get it nice and warm. And then I'm gonna change the oil. But she's alive. She's alive. I'm not satisfied yet because there's a lot of checks I still need to do. But she is alive. Okay, and so now I just started it and came out here. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to the instruments and see if I got a check engine light. So look at that, no check engine light. My seatbelt's not on, my trunk is open, and the brake is on, which makes sense. But no check engine light. Fingers crossed. Alrighty, we're at AutoZone now. It's amazing how something as simple as going to an auto parts store in the car is such a big deal because there's so much work to get this car back together again. But 1 month later and probably close to $1,000 later, I haven't done checked all my receipts yet, and I don't dare because it's gonna scare me. But it is back. I went to AutoZone to return the old oil for recycling, and I had some other returns. And go figure, I am driving here, and guess what? Check engine light comes on. Crap. So I have my reader with me, and I checked the check engine code. And drum roll please, guess what the code is? Low coolant. Low coolant. Which, as I had said before, I was just using water. So it makes perfect sense. So talk about a possible heart attack. So let's get this girl home I want to wash her up, clean her up, and pull all the water out and put antifreeze in it properly and see if she's gonna treat me good. So we'll find out. So here's the oil change, and this was maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes of running. That's kind of dark. It still has some very, some clarity to it, but it's pretty dark for a 10-minute engine run with all the crap that I had in that car. So I'm glad I flushed it out. Yeah, it cost me $30, but peace of mind, I guess. So here we are driving the Lexus. Finally got everything sorted out, hopefully. No check engine lights. Running great, nice and quiet. I do smell a hint of burning oil, so maybe I've got a leak somewhere. I'll have to check that out. But otherwise, I consider this done. For those of you that are interested, the P0125 code, which was saying unable to do closed loop for the coolant, was actually the O2 sensor that I had crushed when it had gone into the intake cylinder, into the actual piston when I was putting the head on. And I was hoping it would still work, but it did not. And I replaced it, and it's working just fine now. This is the first drive with it being the new O2 sensor, and no check engine lights, no nothing. So I am considering this supposedly, knock on wood here, completely fixed. Remember, this is all started from the P1349 or whatever it was for the left bank for the VVT solenoid. And so it turned out that it was the head. The head actually was worn down enough and way out of clearance to hold the oil pressure. So that's what the problem was, supposedly, because I've been driving it. I got about 100 miles on it now, and no check engine yet. Maybe one of these days I can trade up to something like that. That's what I'm talking about. But in the meantime, this old girl's back on the road again. I've got a few fine-tuning things to take care of, but otherwise I think she is ready to start doing daily service. So I'm hoping that this works out for me, because I'm pretty much at my limit on this car. And so with that, I'm going to wrap up this video and this update on the car from all the stuff I've done. And yes, it's a win that it's fixed, but it's a loss financially. Another $50 here, another $50 there, another. It's this. I have twice the amount of money into this car that I could sell it for. But educationally, I have learned a tremendous amount, and how can you put a price on that? So that's good, as well as just winning. Not allowing the devils, the gremlins, the whatever inside this car to beat me. So it is. I think I've won, and honestly, this car drives as well as it drove when I first got it. It drives 10 times better now. It feels much more responsive on the engine, more solid on the engine. The power delivery through the RPM range is much more smooth. And so very happy with what I've done with the heads, as far as lapping the valves and porting the cylinders and cleaning everything up and all that stuff. So now I'm just going to drive it and see what kind of life I can get out of this thing. Talk to y'all later.